All right, I'm going to talk about these Atlanta Falcons, and I teased this. These Falcons, there's some things that you can take advantage of, and there's things they're going to take advantage of you on. So just get ready for that offensively. It really does come down to their personnel, and they do a great job of playing in the 11 personnel. That's the 3 wide receivers, the 1 tight end. They've scored 18 of their 19 touchdowns playing in 11 personnel. So that's kind of that's the way that they're going to operate. They're going to play some 12 personnel on you. That's the 1 back with the 2 tight ends. But they got a sneaky good group too that they play in. That's called the 21 with the 2 running backs and then the 1 tight end is what they play. So they're in a situation right now where they'll mix in some of their personnel groups in, but like I say, a lot of it's going to be 11 personnel is what you're going to see. Kirk Cousins, we all kind of understand who Kirk Cousins is. We've seen him in Minnesota. We've seen him with the Commanders. But I think he's kind of found himself here again with the Falcons because of the personnel groups that they have. They have an effective running game with the 2 backs. They've got some wide receivers that are probably not household names, but they do a pretty good job of working the middle of the field. This is an area we've talked about a bunch this year for the Cowboys. Wouldn't be surprised. I know I asked my guys this question yesterday. Do you expect maybe some changes at safety? Maybe as the week goes on, we'll start to hear more of that. But Kirk Cousins is really, really effective when he can throw the ball down the seams, down the middle of the field. That's where he likes to work. He's like 80% of his passes are going to go to the middle of the field. That's where he likes to attack. He's going to take advantage of your safety play if it's not going to be good for you. So, this is where the Cowboys have got to be really, really aware about him. It's rare you find him outside the pocket. He's going to stand in the middle of the pocket. It's when it comes to his throws, it's always just going to be that type of that. He's going to deliver the ball, be right in the middle of it. You got to find a way. He's not going to be running around, and you've dealt with some quarterbacks that will do that. But you're going to know exactly where he is. You're going to know exactly where you need to rush. Now you got to find a way to get home on that. And Dallas has had some problems with that. Cousins, he's been sacked 14 times this season without a blitz. There's only been 1 time that he's been sacked with a blitz. And so this is where, opponents have been able to kind of get some pressure on him. The more pressure you put on him, the more prone he is to mistakes. 6 of his interceptions have come when opponents have gotten to him. I went back and watched all his interceptions that he's had. When people have attacked him standing there in the middle of the pocket, ball will come out of his hand at a funny angle. He'll try and make a throw as he's being hit, get knocked off balance, ball ends up being an interception. So if you can find a way to get pressure on him in the middle of the pocket, you have to be able to do that, because if you look at the metrics will tell you 12 of his touchdowns this year have come with no pressure at all. So pressure affects the way that he likes to play. His favorite routes, when he could throw a hitch, an out, or flat, a screen, and a go. These are the ones that he's thrown the most this season. So if you're the Cowboys secondary, we think about those in-breaking routes. It's not so much we've seen the last couple of weeks. It's been all about the crossing routes. But these guys will go up the field. They'll curl back to the inside, or they'll run the out. And you can kind of – that's how these wide receivers like to work. Where Cousins has had some success is he's also had some success with the corner routes and the post routes too. So those are the down the field throws. So we'll see if they take a page out of Detroit's book, out of 49ers book, and put some of these crossing routes in there. So when he tends to throw interceptions, it's generally in the middle of the field, like we said. That's when he's forcing the ball. And like I say, it'll sail out of his hands sometimes when he gets hit.
And as you mentioned, with him under pressure, he's thrown 7 picks this year.
Yeah.
6 of those 7 are when pressured.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's with London, the receiver, is going to run the majority of his routes. He's the primary guy for Atlanta. Most of his receptions have come from the slot. Moody, the other receiver, is going to run the majority of his routes from the outside. He's number 1. So, you've got London is going to play in the slot and run routes there. He's got 27 receptions from the slot. Moody will play on the outside. He's got 21 from the outside. You got to be ready for Moody to be running out of the backfield. Now, they saw this last week. What did Deebo Samuel do? They got a wheel route on the Cowboys out of the backfield. So they've used Moody in the backfield and thrown him the ball 4 different times, lining him up there. I could see them, Zach Robinson, I could see him saying, oh, wow, Dallas can't cover. They put a linebacker on a wide receiver coming out of the backfield. I would keep an eye on that one for sure. These backs are outstanding. When you talk about Robinson and Algier, together they've rushed for 898 yards. They've got 5 touchdowns. They've had 23 runs together of 10 yards or more this season.
Wow. That's pretty good.
Yeah, where Robinson.
The Cowboys have had 3.
Yeah, it's.
They haven't had a single rush of 20 yards.
Yeah, it's been.
Their long rush, I think, is 15 yards.
Terrible.
I know
terrible.
Zeke's long is 11.
Yeah. The Cowboys, like I say, with Robinson, he does most of his damage running to the left side. You watch the tape and you're thinking like, oh, right-handed quarterback, right-handed team. No, Robinson, when he attacks the left side of the formation, that's kind of been where he's averaging almost 5.5 yards a carry over there with the 3 touchdowns. Algier, on the other hand, likes to run to the right side. So, you got two guys that kind of, when they're in there, one kind of a little bit better going to his left, one a little bit better going to his right. But these guys have had tremendous success catching the football. Between them, I think there's 2 drops.
Wow.
That was the thing. Robinson was a nasty route runner,
no doubt,
and pass catcher.
I'd say drops, but 2 incompletions.
Wow. 2 incompletions.
2 incompletions.
And Kirk Cousins he's one of the check down monsters right now.
To the flat, these guys wheel. They get him to the outside and throw them the football. I worry about this game more so of them throwing the football to these guys and Dallas not rallying up, tackling in space, missing tackles in the open field. Now, where teams have had a really success against these 2 guys, it's playing with a stacked box. And here I am talking about stacked boxes again. I'm looking at them like going, wow, it looks like, I'm taking, give me all the runs where they get stuffed. With a stuffed, no gain, negative plays. 8-man box is what this has. Dallas has had trouble with 8-man box. Robinson's only averaged 2.6 yards a carry against stack box. Algier on the other side, 2.7. So 8 men in the box has given Atlanta problems. Dallas just hasn't played well enough with 8 men in the box.
Yeah, this will be a get-right game for those numbers for those guys.
You got to hope that Dallas somehow figures out if they do play the 8-man box. Now, I'll say this about these receivers, too. Their numbers are completely different when it comes to press coverage and off coverage. They struggle when their numbers are dramatically different when it goes when you play press coverage. Dallas plays a lot of zone. If I'm Mike Zimmer, I change out my safeties. I play some press coverage on the outside, and I'm going to keep the 8-man box stuff. I'm just going to try my best to see if I can hold up. We talk about their tight end Pitts. He's been a monster since Cousins has arrived on the scene. He's got rare combination of height, athletic ability. He's made him a big-time weapon. He's with Cousins' willingness to throw up the seams has made him a better player. The Cowboys secondary are going to have their hands full defending this guy because of the height, of the athletic ability. I've talked about this before, I would consider putting McQuamu on him. I would maybe go into a situation, go with a little length, go with a little height, try and run with him, try to deter him. McQuamu is crazy. He gets into it. He gets into the game. This might be a good opportunity for him to play with a little length, a little height, and handle that. This offensive line is solid. They're not the type that are going to blow you off the line of scrimmage. They kind of allow their backs they get in their blocks, allow the backs to read and make a cut. They do a good job of staying on their feet. Where the pressures have been over Matthews, the left tackle, Lindstrom, the right guard. They'll leave their offensive tackles singled up most of the time in pass protections. You got to try and take advantage of those. But like I say, Matthews, the left tackle, Lindstrom, the right guard, are the ones that have had the most problems. They do have multiple players on their offensive line, though, that have allowed 3 sacks. So it's kind of coming like the Cowboys have a couple of guys. They've got 3-4 guys. It's Matthews, Bergeron, and McGarry have allowed 3 sacks this year. So just a little bit of a side note like that, too. Each one of these running backs, Robinson and Algiers, have also allowed sacks. So if this turns into some pass protection You get a back. I'm all about, and I said this earlier in the show, I am all about maybe putting Overshown in there as a rusher. No more. I'm not going to play off-ball, linebacker, spy dude, whatever that was you were doing last week.
You're just going to line him up on the edge?
I'm lining him up on the edge, and I'm going to say, you just run and go and move him around. If you want to rush one time against Matthews, if you want to rush on the other side against McGarry, maybe just find a spot in if you could get something going. He's the one guy that when you saw that, how he was able to close down, his burst could give one of these tackles problems if you just say, hey, run his. If you're going to have a quarterback that's just going to stand in the middle of the pocket, just go ahead and make a run at him right off the edge there and see if you can get home. And maybe if you don't get home, it affects
you rush a throw.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an incompletion, and that's something we heard about him. That was Dan Quinn, the previous regime, but they might try him out and do last year. But unfortunately, he got hurt.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I think that's something that maybe. A lot of things you could try and do in this football game, but this is a pretty good offense you're having to deal with.
Hey, Tinker, that would be exciting if Overshown could break out as a pass rusher for the future of this defense. That would be exactly what you need.
And if Mukwamu could be a tight end eraser all of a sudden, renaissance.
I like what Brian's got cooking over there. Hopefully the defensive coaches are listening once again.
All right, I'm going to sell you a little hopium here for the Chief, you kind of told me yesterday that this Atlanta defense has got some poochies to it.
It does, yes.
Yeah.
It does.
It does.
At every level.
Yeah, it does. And where they really have some poochies. And tell me if you think you could take advantage of this in this football game. How about a team that when they rush 4, because you watch them rush 4 all day and they never get anybody home.
Yes.
And they're creating they create absolutely no pressure. And then they blitz, and they don't create any pressure.
Oh, perfect.
Does it give you any hope as a Dallas Cowboy fan?
Gives me a lot of hope.
As somebody that maybe would like to see this football team win.
If they can blitz and they don't get any pressure, Dak Prescott in his history has been very, very effective.
Yeah. This, just like I said, I started watching these games. I started watching like Kansas City. I was watching Seattle. I was just trying to kind of, some teams, these offenses. And it's a little bit hard because you're watching other teams' offenses move the ball, and you're thinking, well, maybe Dallas could do this. And then you kind of have to circle back and maybe not. But there's some things that this Falcon defense is very deficient at. They struggle with the pass rush. They've only generated pressure on 24% of their dropbacks, of opponents' dropbacks this year. And that's sending 4 or fewer rushers. But then when they blitz, they only have their sack rate is even smaller than that.
Their sack rate's worse in the sport.
Yeah, it's the worst. They're
2.2%.
They're the second worst and so when they don't generate pressure, and it's the third lowest in the league by only the Bears and the Raiders from 2 different eras or 2 different years have had a lower pressure rate than what Atlanta's dealing with right now. So there you go. There's something you kind of think about right there.
That's super nice. I mean, you've seen a lot of the bad plays happen with pressure being involved for sure.
Yeah. Matthew Judon is their best rusher, if you want to say a best pass rusher here. Grady Jarrett, I think, is as a defensive tackle is okay, but Matthew Judon is the one you're going to have to worry about. Now, the teams that I watched, how do they stop him? They double him. You know why they double him? Because nobody else can get home.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you do. You find a way. He is their best pass rusher. That guy's faced more double teams this year than any other time in his career. But you watch, and people are like going, I'm not going to let this number 15 beat me. I'm not going to let this guy rush the passer. He's had very good years. New England, he's had some really good years. Atlanta, he ain't the same player. But people are double teaming him right now is what they're doing. And so that's making a difference in that pass rush.
I feel like this is manageable there on the front end, if we can just get somebody open.
Yeah.
Dak just said, excited about this game plan. Think we've got a great one in the making. Now it's about, for us, just locking in, being focused, executing.
Falcons last year, when you watched them play, Falcons were a really big man team. This year, they don't play as much man defense as they did. Matter of fact, they're going to play about 81%, maybe 81% zone defense. And they're only going to play man defense about 19.
Well, it's good
of
because
the time.
you just give us the DAC numbers versus man this year, and they're really bad.
All right, now here's where you also watch when they play in coverage, how things work out for them. Because I was thinking, like, man, they allow a lot of space in their secondary. And the Falcons, because of the zone that they play, you have separation out there. So I went into and I looked at, like, okay, how much cushion are we giving these guys? Because you watch them play with all the zone, they're like 5 yards off, and you wonder why. It's a dangerous combination that they have. They have no pass rush, and they play off coverage. So they're giving you cushion. So if you protect, then they give you throws and routes. So I was looking at the numbers on that, and I'm thinking, like, damn, why are these guys playing back? Why is Terrell playing back here? Why is Hughes playing off here? Why do these guys play back? That's their deal. Like they say, 78% of the time, the snaps this season, they've played in this off coverage where they've been 5 yards or more. Okay, can the Cowboys take advantage of somebody that plays off coverage? Can the Cowboys run? And I told you guys earlier when we were talking about all this that your best option for Dak Prescott this year for somebody that's played off coverage against you quite a bit has been Tolbert.
Yeah.
He's got 17 receptions for 200 yards against off coverage. CeeDee Lamb, you would think, would be a really good off coverage player. That hasn't been the case. Where CeeDee has actually done better is when teams have played man coverage against him. So something's got to happen for you this weekend with CeeDee Lamb, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to tell you what. I'm keeping him away from A.J. Terrell, the corner.
Yeah.
Okay, Terrell used to play like he was predominantly a left corner. He was they've played against each other twice. But Terrell has only carried him in like 5 routes, playing twice. Where Lamb has done all his damage was away from. So the Cowboys kept him away from Terrell's side. So that's you think, oh, they played twice, they've had to match up. Well, this is what probably could be different though for the Falcons this week, is that they play him on both sides.
Okay.
Oh.
So
he's traveling with the number one receiver.
He's traveling. He's going to travel in this game. Now, what you could do now is put him in a situation where they won't move him inside. They won't walk him down inside. Now, the Falcons have a player that's their nickel player named D. Alford.
Yeah.
D. Alford gets worked. And if you watch the Kansas City game, Kansas City's got really good weapons. Don't get me, I mean, they've got, this is before the injury and all that. So they had
Rice.
Yeah, they had some weapons. 10 for 10 on targets and receptions against the Chiefs. And he's played some other games where it's been 5 targets, 4 receptions, 6 targets, 5 receptions.
I think Chris Godwin just ate him alive.
Yeah. He's had some problems in the slot. This is where now you got to think about putting him in that slot to get him away from Terrell and make sure that he can run some routes from there. Keep him on the move and have him run some routes from there.
Okay.
That's where I would kind of, they've had some success. Number 20, it's D. Alford. He is their nickel. He plays at depth, and he gets worked. Teams have completed like 79% of the passes against him. And they keep playing the guy. They keep throwing him out there as that nickel player. So I'm making sure that I'm finding number 20 in this scheme, and I'm going to throw the football out of there. By the way, too, and I looked this up because I was curious of how much the Falcons, their secondary, 52%, Dawson, 52% of throws against their defense are wide open throws.
Ooh.
52.
Okay.
That's insane.
That's going to be exciting to see what the Cowboys numbers look like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
after
based
the
on
game.
what you know about the Cowboys, what do you think the Cowboys number is going to be there?
I mean, could this be like a
I'd put it in the
200-yard CeeDee
20s.
Lamb game?
No, I don't think it's going to be good. I think they will still struggle to get guys open consistently.
Even with the off coverage, even with the separation.
I mean, that's my my belief about how bad things are with this team right now.
If it goes bad, is it going to go bad because all of a sudden Atlanta finds pass rush or Atlanta finds coverage?
I think they find coverage.
I think it'd be the pass rush.
You think it's going to be pass rush?
I think it would be all of a sudden Tyler Guyton struggling. They find like Judon turns the strip back to I'm New England, Matthew Judon here, and now they're getting some pressure on you. Because it doesn't sound to me that they got the horses to cover outside of Terrell.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked their safeties, but I don't think their linebackers are good either.
Yeah.
Their linebacker, I mean, over the middle of the field should be open.
They have problems just like Dallas has problems in the middle of the field.
But the thing is when you have 7 guys dropping, you don't have to be that great at covering. We're in areas and zones that's going to make it difficult for Dak to find something easy. And when that happens, he hangs on to the football.
Yeah,
and now bad defenses can look good just because of the scheme and Dak's weakness.
Sure, but they also can't get pressure with 4, so they're going to have to send extra guys, which means you're not able to clog and cover.
When they've sent guys, they haven't got home.
And that's where Dak needs to be able to capitalize on the big plays. Because otherwise, they might be able to limit it. But if they blitz, Dak's got to have to be able to take advantage of that.
Only the Cardinals allow more successful plays than these guys on defense. 4 yards or more a play. Only the Cardinals allow more than the Falcons do.
I mean, they don't stop the run overly well.
No,
they don't.
And this is the problem with them trying to stop. This is them probably trying to stop the run. And this maybe will play into Dallas's hands a little bit. Last week against the 49ers, when you watch the tape, the successful runs that Ezekiel Elliott had in this football game were against the light box.
Totally.
This team plays almost half the time in light box.
Oh, okay, so they're ready to surrender things in the run game.
They're ready. They feel like, well, go ahead and run the ball. Go ahead and run it. To me, if Dallas has proven that last week against the light box, I'm saying with Zeke, his most successful runs last week in that game against San Francisco were 6 or less in the box. And if Atlanta's going to play the light box in this game, or that's what they do,
run at them.
Maybe you can figure out a way to run the ball at them. Maybe now you'll see a semblance of a running game.
It kind of feels like if the Cowboys offense cannot get going to a respectable standard on Sunday, it's fair to consider that they never will be. They never will be for the rest of the season.
This defense can get you right if you're willing to. If you do what you are capable of doing. If you're capable of getting the ball to not just Lamb, but to Tolbert, if you find way, but they're going to allow you that avenue to maybe run the football a little bit here. And like I say, Dallas has had success being able to do that when it has been. And it was, last week it was against San Francisco. Ezekiel ran the ball, I thought, pretty effectively for him. Like half his runs were 4 yards or better.
Yeah, the first half he ran the ball well.
Yeah. How would you play this, by the way, with all these guys being active? How do you play? Do you play like teams? Do you play like every other play? You're rotating guys in there? Or do you go series to series and figure out who the hot guy is and ride that guy the rest of the way?
I'd ride the hot hand, but I'd try and ride Rico. I think Rico's still the best of the 3. But I would be down to go series to series, find the hot hand. Maybe Dalvin Cook all of a sudden shows you some juice.
Series to series or play to play?
Just Rico.
It's really just Rico. I guess in a goal line scenario, you can convince me that you can put Zeke on the field. But even for everything he did the other night versus the Niners, he had 0 rushing yards over expectation. He had nothing but light boxes. He was getting nice gains, and he was getting exactly the bare minimum of what those gains should be. I think Rico Dowdle in those same scenarios last week, if he would have played, would have had even better runs on those good Zeke runs.
Yeah, that decision.
He's always leaving meat on the bone. Even a good Zeke play is a play that Rico would do better, unless it's just to get a half a yard at the goal line, and then I'll take your word for it. Give me Zeke, sure.